What's up, y'all? It's your man, Daryl G, and today I wanted to come to y'all and give you my perspective on Colin Kaepernick's workout from this past weekend, kind of all the events that surrounded it, and what I expect to see going forward for Kaepernick and for the NFL. So to start off, Colin Kaepernick held a workout this weekend after what looked like he was going to have a workout and then cancel the workout with the NFL, and then held his own workout after that a few hours later at a different facility. So in case you don't know, Colin Kaepernick was in the works for weeks or maybe even months to have a workout with the NFL, and at least provided by the NFL at one of their facilities, in this case Atlanta, the Falcons facility, to in front of scouts to show what he's got going on, give him an opportunity to get out there in front of some real NFL scouts and to in one place and to truly be evaluated for whether or not he can make it back in the league. At least that was the general idea behind it, right? That was what was supposed to be going on. But through some negotiation talks and things like that, I guess they could not iron out a few things. Kaepernick and the NFL could not agree on whether or not the media should be there, could not agree on personnel as far as who should and should not be there. Could they use any receivers from the NFL? Could someone who's currently on an active roster be available for the workout? And last but not least, it sounds like the NFL did not want to risk any liability due to an injury or things like that. So they wanted to have Kaepernick and anyone who participates sign a waiver just saying that they wouldn't have any injuries or things like that. Now, Kaepernick, on the other hand, I think through this negotiation may have figured out, hey, the NFL's blackballed me before. Maybe I better have a backup. So he did, and in fact, what he actually did was he actually canceled his workout that was supposed to be done through the NFL, and instead held a separate workout at a local high school, which was a pretty nice looking field for a high school field, at least compared to what I used to play on. But he had a different separate workout where he did have it open to the public, and he had cameras and the media and everybody out there along with it. Part of me, I have to be honest with you. I'm not sure if Kaepernick really wants to play in the NFL. I mean, I understand trying to buck the system and things, but look, if you understand the NFL, you understand that it's ran like a good old boys club. There's very few people that control access to the owners and can have sway or movement over what they think and what they do, okay? And in the end, I know we have coaches, we have personnel that judge talent and things like that, but if the owner don't want you, he don't want you, okay? And you're not, it doesn't matter. You look at Dallas. It doesn't matter what Jason Garrett wants or doesn't want. It doesn't even matter what his win-loss record is. It's whether or not Jerry Jones wants him there and whether or not Jerry Jones likes a player and can be convinced that he can be on that team. Otherwise, it doesn't really matter, does it? Nope. So that's how the NFL is run. And I guess Kaepernick said, well, I got another way of doing this and dealing with it, and so I'm going to hold my own, and we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens, and I want to hold this under my own terms, which is fine, I guess. But I'm telling you, if you want to get back in the league, it's probably not the best way to do it, because again, these guys could not care about your feelings or what you think you want to do. They're only going to do what's best for their team and for the league, period. This is a sport. This is sports. This is not politics. There are very few other angles other than win and don't screw up. Don't screw up my money, which includes doing things off the field, which includes all the social media stuff, things like that. If the bottom line starts taking a hit, they'll find a way to get rid of you. Trust me. This is true for about any sports franchise, but especially in the NFL, where everything is controlled so much by just a few people. When he canceled the workout with the NFL and kind of the sponsor one, I got a little worried. I said, I don't know if this guy really wants to play. So, but he did hold a actual workout, and I did take a look at the workout, and to be honest with you, a couple of my takes were he can still throw the ball. Okay, he's still got a strong arm. That release is still slow. But so, think Michael Vick here. Great on the feet, can run. Not sure if he can run like Michael Vick. He wasn't as fast. But that arm takes a while to wind up. And it looks great when it winds up. But just like with Michael Vick, you run the risk of taking more sacks and having a delayed amount of time getting that ball out your hand. Number three, some of the throws just weren't sharp. And I couldn't tell if it was him, the receivers, if they had not worked together for a long time, or if they were just off in different paces. If you're a quarterback and you're trying to throw at an NFL speed, and you got receivers who are not used to working at an NFL speed, or maybe a slightly lower than that, it throws off the timing and everything. A lot of these passes, a lot of those short routes, those crossing routes, out routes, and things are all about timing. So you got to kind of work with guys for a little while to get that down. Or you got to have guys who can come in day one and they know what they need to do, right? So if haven't been in that environment, that's tough to judge. And last but not least, Colin Kaepernick's problems were never his arm. Colin Kaepernick's problems were not his accuracy. It was all mental. It's up here. So he couldn't tell the difference between cover 2, cover 3. He couldn't understand the difference between, when you're dropping a safety back, or you got a safety coming up, it looks like he's going to blitz, or whether you got a linebacker who's coming up and they drop him out in coverage. They're doing all kinds of weird stuff. They can drop zone. They switch to a man coverage, or they disguise their zone with something that looks like man, play man underneath. You got zone over the top. There are a lot of different things going on in the NFL with coverages and stuff, and especially since he's been out of the league. I mean, look at offenses. You look at Kansas City. I mean, Arizona's running a college offense, essentially, with the spread offense. So things have changed a lot, and the defenses are adjusting to that. So it's becoming more complicated, and he had trouble reading them when they were a little bit less complicated than they are now. So those are really my questions, is whether or not he actually would be able to work and would be able to function. Now, is there a place for him in the NFL? You got to say yes. You have to. You look at what's going on in Jacksonville, what's going on in Oakland, what's going on in Chicago. Chicago has a championship team. Okay? They have a championship team. They're missing one part. They're missing a quarterback. They got a lot of pieces in place. A strong defense with even a decent quarterback that can manage the game can win you a championship. I know this from experience. My Tampa Bay Buccaneers had Brad Johnson. Brad Johnson wasn't putting up, 5,000 yards, 4,000 yards in a season. He wasn't dropping 50 touchdown passes on you. Okay? What he did do was manage the game, and he didn't turn it over and let the defense put that work in and slowly but surely move that ball down the line. You got an excellent field goal kicker. You whittle them down until you end up with 21, 24 points on the board, and you call it a day. Now, the NFL's changed a lot since that time. And what we're seeing teams put up 30 points and still lose. Again, my Buccaneers. So I'm not sure if that even works. So you really got to have a guy who can get the ball in the end zone and not turn it over, not give up the opportunities. And I'm not sure if Kaepernick's that guy. He has decent numbers, but his numbers continue to decline the longer he was in the league. First year was pretty good. Second year was decent, was pretty good. Third year, getting a little worse. Fourth year, ugly. Okay, just ugly. All right? And so I do question how well he could do. Again, there's a spot for him. There are places for him. You look at the Jets. I mean, the starting quarterback's horrible. He's seeing ghosts. The backup quarterback's horrible. I don't even know who's the third string quarterback. I don't know, maybe a kicker or something. I don't know what they got going on. So if you're telling me he couldn't go there or he couldn't go to Miami, then that's a lie, right? To say that outright is just ridiculous, right? He's got an opportunity to do that. But does he want to? I'm not sure. That's the one thing I can't figure out with Kaepernick, is does he really want to play in the NFL? Is he going to do what it takes? Because for anyone else, for a lot of guys who are not in the league, if you're telling them they can have 20 plus scouts show up, 20 plus teams represent themselves at a NFL camp set up specifically for you to try out or work out, they would not care if cameras were there. They wouldn't care if the media was there. They wouldn't care if fans were there or not. Honestly, you only care about the cameras and the media if you're putting on a show. And these guys are trying to get on a team so they can be a part of the show, but on Sunday, not on a Saturday workout. So I question if he really wants to do it or not, okay? I know there was some talk about he didn't want to sign a waiver for liability. That's BS. That's BS. I played college football. I played high school football. I can't think of a single time that anybody was responsible for me having an injury when I wasn't even on the team yet, when I'm trying out. That's BS, okay? So that wasn't it. So there was a plan to put on the show the whole time. He didn't have that, he didn't just walk up to a high school field and say, hey, we're coming out here, let's try out. He had to know ahead of time that that was the move. He just didn't tell the NFL. He canceled at the last second. And again, if you want to get back in the NFL, you want to play for a team, that's probably not the smartest thing to do, right? Because how can the team trust you if you're going to go around and pulling pranks all the time and nonsense? I know that sounds wrong. I know it says, man, I should have this dude's back, but I'm telling you, the NFL's a small system, man. And until that changes, and maybe that's what he's trying to do, you know, he's trying to put a wedge in there to change it, but unless you're buying teams, it ain't going to change. Unless you're a team owner or you have a few teams and you got some team owners that you can put into place and you got the money to make it happen, it ain't going to change, man. So it's got to come through ownership, and that takes time, okay? We're talking about $1 billion plus buys here, okay? Even with 2 or 3 multimillionaires, that's still a stretch. You got to have some investment. You got to have some serious funding. And in the African American community, black community, that funding is not there, but only for a select few. And even then, you think about the select few that would even want to own a football team out of that number of people that possibly could in the black community, and it's smaller and smaller. It's fewer and fewer. You know, it's a good investment, but it takes years and years and time, and it's a lot of headaches and stuff like that too that comes with owning a team. Let's be realistic. And you got to have a passion for it. You know, what if you just don't like football? You know, why buy a team? So, anyways, that's my take on it. I'm not sure if he's going to come back in the league. I saw some positive things, but I also saw some negatives again. The slow release, the inaccurate passes at times, the fact that they really weren't up to full speed on a lot of the things, on a lot of the routes and stuff, and on his dropbacks. And I did see the deep ball. It was a real nice deep ball, nice catch, but he also had a couple of deep balls where guys had to slow down, where guys were pushing up against the sideline, which is fine. You can push up against the sideline, but the slowing down and not keeping at their pace again, that could be a sign that he's just not used to working with those receivers, or that his accuracy is a little off. Remains to be seen. Again, my problems with Kaepernick while he was playing was his inability to know what coverage was going on, and that he would just wing a ball up every once in a while. I know about that because, you know, again, I'm a Bucs fan, and Jameis Winston's got a habit of just lobbing a ball up in the middle of the defense for no reason. And Kaepernick has done that a few times, so that's something to keep in mind. All right, man, it's your boy, Daryl G. Like and subscribe. The videos are coming now. Your boy had to move from one spot to another spot. I bought a house, so you know how that go. Take some time to get settled in, but now I'm finally settled. I'm trying to do some things, even though I'm doing this video from my car on a lunch break. It is what it is. You got to get them in where you can, right? All right, y'all. Peace.